We're on episode 7. Holy sh!
Oh my God! If you don't shut up after I start the show, I swear to God. Hey everybody, welcome to Tactical Crouch, episode number 7, I think. Episode 6 is somewhere. It's like an internet archive
It's
land.
the lost episode.
It's the lost episode that you can only find on Yiska's Twitch, because you guys never sent me the video, so I never got to post it. But I've heard nothing but good things.
Creature living in his walls.
I am back, by the way. We've got an excellent show. I'm John, KickedTripod, Horseman. We've got Joseph, Volamel, Franco, and Yiska. We don't know what Yiska's name is. We just call him Yiska.
And we will keep it that way. No, it's Sasha Heinisch.
The most German sounding name.
No, it's absolutely not German.
That's
really?
not that.
Yes. Heinisch?
No, Heinisch.
That's super German.
Really? Well,
I think so.
Is that so?
That's about as German as Steiner.
Joe, do you know Yiska's real name?
Yeah. Sasha. Heinisch. So you have to sound really angry when you do it. Like it's like you're yelling at a small child.
Oh, I do know it's Sasha. I didn't know that.
Sasha Heinisch. Sigmund Freud.
It's a good reason why I only bring up
just do it, Joe. That's so offensive. You're gonna get us kicked right off of iTunes for that.
No, this is.
By the way, for the German viewers, my first name might have actually realistically been the reason why the song, about this neo-Nazi. So there's a punk band singing about a German neo-Nazi, and he's called Sasha. And there is a real possibility that he's called Sasha because me as a child was pretty close to the lead singer because we were always going to the same hockey games. And I think I was quite rowdy at the hockey games. I was the only one of the rowdy kids. Or actually, I was the only kid in the area because we were with press and everyone. And I was just, I don't know. I think he thought I was quite aggressive. We were pretty friendly with him, though. But yeah, I think that's just a German name for that usually uneducated idiots get, and they were inspired by that.
Let's go ahead and start this one over. just starts going into neo-Nazi stuff. This is a competitive Overwatch podcast. You are not on the wrong podcast. This is the right place, but
it's the Twilight Zone. Where am I?
I don't know. I don't feel. Yeah, okay, whatever.
Sasha decided to just go into his roots, cohorting with a neo-Nazi lead singer. So, yeah. Anyways,
well, what you do when you're young? You can't picture how people turn out.
This is great. This is great. I can already see the YouTube comments like show starts at 11 minutes and 3 seconds. Like, how about you just
it's been a pleasure
just appreciate the show for its banter, sir or madam?
Exactly.
Cheers.
Sure.
You've got 75 minutes. Turn it on 1.25 speed. It's fine. Download it on Overcast. Play it fast. Cut out those the dry spots. Does it for you. It's great.
The dry spots. There's no dry spots on Tactical Crouch.
Well, the what's it? The spaces with no words. Empty.
There's never not words.
Okay. All right. Well, anyways, we've got a great show for you. Feels good to be back. Joe, Yiska, great job holding down the fort last week. I almost employed your layouts for this week because they were just so good. They were just such a step up in so many different ways.
Joe is an artist. What can I say?
Dude, you like the smiley face?
Smiley face was great.
Instead of Soldier 76, it was just like, what if I just
it's just a smiley face? Yeah. It was really good. Yep. So great job doing that. That'll be on RSS feeds whenever Yiska gets me the VOD. So until then.
Yeah,
but we are back, by the way. If you are listening for the first time, wherever you are, you can find this show in video and audio format on RSS feeds everywhere, Spotify, YouTube, search for Tactical Crouch. If it doesn't show up right away for some reason, search for Overwatch League Daily because we're sharing that feed. And of course, you can watch us live on Mondays most of the time. Today's Wednesday, but on Mondays most of the time at 11 a.m.
core version of Monday.
11 a.m. Pacific time at twitch.tv/KickedTripod. That's where we are. Let's talk about stuff and things about Overwatch. And Joe, I think we're going to talk about balance changes first. We don't talk about balance changes a lot, but we've got a new hero. I think you guys discussed the new heroes last week, right? We talked about it. You guys didn't, what did you guys talk about
kind
last
of erased
week?
that episode from my memory.
I haven't actually watched it all the way through, so I don't really know what you guys talked about.
Me neither. Not too sure myself. So if you heard about Ashe last week, you're going to hear about her again. Year 29 came out during BlizzCon. She's a barrel of fun. Bob's, terrible pun. Saw her actually get played today in a relatively small Chinese tournament, but she's out. She's on live. She's a good time. Long and short of it, from my end, I think that she's a great replacement for McCree because she has obviously infinitely more vertical mobility, and she has a little bit more utility than McCree does. Lacks the hard CC, but makes up for it with some more movement tools. So
I think one thing that we forgot to do last week was to tell the story of how you played her at BlizzCon and how that experience was.
Oh, we were standing in line, and there's two separate lines, right? So there's like group play, and there's just like it's wrapping around the building.
You had a press pass, right?
Yeah, but I'm a man of the people,
dude. Go to the front of the line.
I'm a man of the people.
Your first BlizzCon, I get it, but next year you
second one. Thank you.
Flashing that press pass every time, like sup?
Relax.
Press here. Press. Thorin tweets about me at least once a month.
God,
press.
Stop. So there's two lines. You can either go into like the super long group play line, or you can go into solo. And we had like a group of people. I think it was like me, Mushu Beef, and like Labosco from Broadcast. And I think Mushu Beef got like drawn into another line, so he had to play by himself. But it was me and Labosco, and we sat down. And we're kind of like, oh yeah, this is kind of cool. We put in our names and we load in the lobby, and we're just like, haha, look, there's somebody who thinks they're Smex. That's really people like, copying people's names, you little jokesters. Turn to your right, and there's Smex, and he absolutely did very unpleasant.
Destroys the lobby.
Oh yeah, it was not good. He was like, this is kind of getting boring. I'll just play Doomfist. Yeah, it wasn't much different. Oh, Hammond? Yeah, just absolutely wrecked. Yeah, it was a
takes a really this sort of Brits to go like, there's a new hero, and
I'm gonna play Hammond.
I'm gonna play Hammond and just ruin everyone's fun.
Like, all right, Smex, good on you, buddy.
Okay.
Yeah, it was a trip.
Where is he playing now? Is he playing anywhere?
I think he's still on NRG. Is he not?
Let's see. Smex Overwatch Wikipedia.
I'm gonna feel really bad if he's not, but not that bad actually.
It's definitely in the pub. Yeah, he's still playing for NRG.
Yes.
All right.
Very good.
You got to meet a lot of the NRG people last week. It was really cool going for, because I was at the California Cup, which was the collegiate series stuff, and then there was a show match between the Shock and the Valiant where the Shock kind of swept up on the Valiant.
I heard there were some developments very recently. Was that like? Was that like noticeable at the?
What do you mean?
Apparently,
developments?
So
any more vague, dude.
I heard that there was.
Don't at all involve yourself in that story.
So apparently, says Reddit. Reddit says Custa said that Bunny was experiencing heavy input lag. I don't know what that means. Do you think that was relevant? Not relevant, but like, did that come across at the event, or was it just like, you guys just kind of lost?
There seem to have been quite a few issues throughout the entire day. There was almost a whole hour break between map 1 and map 2.
What the heck?
For the California Cup.
Were they getting the script ready, or what was going on?
And they didn't really say anything. I tried not to ask too much about it. Because I'm not a nosy asshole. So I just kind of like, called it good and whatever. It's definitely, you definitely can notice the challenges that esports organizers have. It's part of it's like, but this was at esports arena. I'm like, this is not new to like what you guys do. It's 12 computers. There's no reason why any of that should happen. But on the other side, it's like the people who say that have more than likely never done any real production themselves. They're just like, it works with one computer. Why doesn't it work with 12? Like, oh, so you really have no idea how a broadcast works.
Nope.
So yeah, anyways, there was just you could tell there's a lot of technological hurdles that happened that I don't know if it was on the esports arena side, the preparation side, the act of God side, because that has definitely happened too, where just like everything works great and all of a sudden, boom, graphics card goes out on a computer right away. And then,
there was,
or you decide to do a tournament outside. What was that last year? T-Mobile did try to do the show match. It was like USA versus Canada, and they were getting like 70 frames per second because
like,
the computers were just overheating.
Yeah, there was a year at an MLG, like way back in the day, like Halo 3, like Smash era of like MLG, where their internet like literally shut off, like the whole block's like ISP just cut out, so they had to invest like all this like crazy money in like trucks to come in and like be like, I don't know how that works. That's just some sort of magic that they bring in. It's just like, you have internet now. Congratulations.
Satellite trucks are pretty much a staple, right, at this point?
I would imagine so, but I think that was the point that we're like, we're just gonna invest in these from now on because this is ridiculous.
I interviewed Renanthra one time back when he was in Toronto Esports before it was a meme, and I forget what it was. I think it was Contenders that they were doing, and they basically lost internet and power in their team house, and they had to like pick up all the computers and shuttle them over. And he met me from the space that they played in. Oh, really? For that, and that's where I did the interview with them. So it's tough. Awesome. It's tough. Anyways, so I don't know how we got that from Ash, but Yiska, I do need to ask you. Number one, I don't know how you're putting out so much content every day, but thinking it over has been great. And you have your own podcast RSS feed right now for that, right?
Yeah, I'm using Anchor, and it's pretty much updates on all sorts of platforms. But yeah, I think I have the RSS feed itself pinned also on my Twitter profile.
So make sure, obviously we expect Tactical Crouch to be your favorite, but your second favorite should be Thinking It Over.
I agree.
I mean, second, I'm thinking like 9th or 10th.
Whoa. Give us that list, bro. Give us that list. What's number 2?
Got to keep it on the DL, man.
Okay, so you have no idea. Got it.
No. Couldn't name you 10.
Fair enough. But Yiska, what are your thoughts on Ash right now? Obviously, we're still in PTR here. Or she's still live, right? She's live now. She went live on very recently, the 10th.
Something like that.
So she is live. Obviously, balance changes can definitely happen between now and Overwatch League and when Contender starts and stuff. But what are your thoughts on Ash overall, on how you might think we might see her played, if at all?
Well, I think for one, like last week I said, my first impression was that it was sort of uninspired. Since then, I mean, yeah, she's kind of innovative in that sense. I think there are applications. It's just very hard to see them right now in the meta as it is, because Ash doesn't solve any GOATS variation at all, I think. there are some interesting mechanics with her. She's pretty fun to play. But yeah, as always, I will refrain from making any, predictions in terms of what she will do in the meta, because notoriously I suck at that, and also everyone else does. So
Reddit is actually really good at it.
Are they?
Yeah, they make sure to call it and then post a link to them calling it.
Sure.
Yeah,
do they post links to them missing it every time?
No, of course not. No.
Of course not.
And for me personally, I have 6 Reddit accounts. And I just make a bunch of like sweeping generalized statements. And then whichever one ends up being correct, I go ahead and be like, yeah, I called it.
You're the absolute jerk face that keeps downvoting my content.
Yeah.
That's who it is, you little rascal, you.
Yep, that's me. That's me, by the way. We do have some balance changes, though, as well. Mercy's ultimate cost reduced by 15%. Healing during Valkyrie increased from 50 to 60. Joe, Mercy is always kind of at the forefront of any support, direct healing support, we'll say, because obviously Brigitte is obviously there as well recently, but is definitely at the forefront for true healing support characters. Seeing this buff here with a faster ultimate charge and doing more healing during Valkyrie, meaningful change here?
I guess it kind of depends on exactly where the meta goes. I think this definitely helps Widow and Pharah comps and their respective maps, because you're going to want to invest in a Mercy. And if she just has just an extra little bit of healing, gets, a little bit more ultimates, gets that ultimate a little bit faster, that's never not a good thing. But like I had mentioned, it's difficult to kind of get a judge on the meta because it's still kind of very tank driven. So we'll see. I think on some maps, she'll definitely be just better, flat, just more good, healing more, getting more ultimates. It's a good change for Mercy mains everywhere. But yeah, she's definitely more useful on maps that kind of suit her.
Yes.
Yeah, I think the problem. Sorry, you wanted to.
I was just gonna say, go ahead and tell us more.
Yeah. The problem. Okay, so here's the thing, right? All of the other meaningful supports, with the exclusion, I guess, now of Moira, have ultimates that sort of cancel out other ultimates. They're very good at negating. They're high value. I don't think Valkyrie's there yet. Now, that in itself might actually help, because if you're not using it to cancel, then you can fire and forget, almost, press Q every fight to get it quicker and try to win the fight where the opponent doesn't have big cooldowns, right? Because what does a Valkyrie really do other than keep the Mercy possibly alive against a Nanoblade or whatever, right? In these situations. Of course, this is a thing that's not necessarily, regularly happening at this point in the meta. But yeah, overall, if you look at the GOAT situation, Mercy still is not a desirable healer in any of those comps, simply because she doesn't have the healing output anymore. So, yeah. I don't think that will change much of her viability.
What about, so another kind of big change is to Roadhog. And Roadhog is definitely a character that we don't see. Maybe I shouldn't say we don't see a lot of, but it's just, it always is kind of, it's always a hero that takes a backseat to somebody else in some way or another. And, we see him from time to time. But we're seeing now where his chain hook pulls faster, slows down target momentum, so you have more consistent pulls, especially when characters are jumping around corners or over ledges. The spread randomization is decreased by 50%. Same for Reaper, by the way. And the knockback during Whole Hog is increased by 25%. I mean, is this What does it take to see a mobility challenge tank like Roadhog see the types of play that we see other mobility challenge tanks like Zarya get to finally see play in competitive Overwatch, Joe?
I don't think much else is needed from here. If I'm going to be, kind of go out on a limb, I think you could see this added to the kind of traditional GOATS comp, and you could see like a return to like double main support. Well, maybe not double main support because you probably still want to run Lucio, but I still think you could probably see like a quad tank variant, whether that's with Hammond or what have you. If that, includes Diva, it's difficult to say, but I think having the ability to have more hooks, because the value in Roadhog isn't necessarily from the gun itself, rather the ability to kind of like create picks. And you look at, 4 tanks and it's like, well, who are you really picking from? If you like think of like a tank mirror where it's like 3-3 versus like this quad tank variant. Again, like your Diva has to be very careful where she positions. Your Zarya has to watch her bubbles. Like there's a lot of shield pressure that you now cause on the enemy team. So it's gonna be interesting to see if teams actually run this. I think he's actually quite good on a map like Hanamura Beach, where you can run up the top right side and just down the stairs and just take spawn control. And that's, the other win condition. So if you don't hold the high ground, you definitely want to control spawn. And fighting through that corridor is kind of his bread and butter. So I do think this kind of increases his pick rate, or at least it could. I tend to think so. But it might take some time. We are seeing 3-3 variants with Winston instead of Reinhardt now. So I think, being able to interrupt Leap, being able to shred Monkey even more, I think is pretty good. So I think, there's a possibility we see him thrown in the mix a little bit more often now because of these changes.
Yiska, agree?
Maybe. I'm still not too high. I mean, the applications that I see him working in is pretty much like Joe explains. Actually, Bench said pretty much the same thing to me just earlier. It's hard to conceive of a situation where that works. I think what will certainly help is that Roadhog probably is a better solo queue character now, because it's much more potent in picks. Historically, if we look into the Overwatch League Season 1, most of the time he was very highly dependent on Orisa. Then again, by the way, Dream had a very good point about Orisa in that regard. So most of the time these combos were only, the halt hook, right? And that is basically what made Orisa Hawk viable. Well, I don't know if that is necessarily any longer such a big thing once teams actually get much better at coordinating halts, because there are very many combos you could potentially run with halt. You could run right-click Zen situations into that, right? You could, all sorts of hit scan, or rather Farah, or whatever, right? Everything that winds up and gets to that very point, that could be a Orisa combination. And Orisa Hawk just seems to be the easiest to apply, and we haven't explored in that regard at all. I'm not sure if that niche even remains open to Roadhog once we, find these new applications for halt. So in terms of Hawk as a solo queue character, very much above. In terms of a competitive character, I think he will remain quite niche, but in that sense, possibly quite interesting as sort of like a niche pick that a very good Roadhog player that now also controls, for instance, the right clicks and whatever, could find some applications, some cheesy applications within high levels of play. And that certainly is interesting. But I don't think he will be a meta stable by any stretch of the imagination.
No.
Yeah, that's kind of where I land on him too. I mean, the whole idea around Roadhog is getting picks, and then his ultimate, which is great for like queuing down in Platinum, Diamond, Masters, where I tend to chill, hopefully, most of the time. And like that's great. But when you finally get into these high quality games, you kind of need to. Everyone knows to like, stay out of line of sight of Roadhog. It's not a difficult concept from that perspective, and it really limits what he does. Spreading ultimates like Roadhog's Whole Hog, all about spreading people around, just haven't been that valuable for the longest time. It's kind of the same way as Pharah's ultimate is, unless you have something to keep everything in place, it just basically just creates some chaos. And in competitive games, I'm not sure that chaos is necessarily ends up being that good. I'm trying to think of any heroes where them casting the ultimate, creating chaos is something that is widely, like widely accepted as, oh yeah, this is a good thing. So I don't know. Like, it's definitely a buff. It's definitely a nice thing. It definitely makes him more viable, but I don't know if like it's viable enough to see really high competitive play use it, except in niche compositions. You probably continue to see Roadhog combined with like Pirate Ship. We've seen that from time to time when you run like the two things there. You might see him a little bit on like control points where you're looking at like clearing out something. But, besides that, it's just Roadhog his mobility sucks. His ultimate does it's like the opposite of Zarya. Zarya, at least with the ultimate, you have Graviton Surge, which, obviously we know the possibilities with that. So I don't know. We'll see. I'm not an analyst. Everybody knows this. I'm not the analyst guy. You guys are the smart guys.
No, I mean
I'm the button pushing.
You're
guy.
not wrong.
I'm the button pushing guy.
I think you're completely spot on, but I think there are applications where you do kind of want people away. So like if a primal raging Winston jumps on you, a great ultimate to kind of answer that with is Whole Hog. Because what is he really looking to do? He's looking to kind of jump in and cause chaos. If I can just keep him at a distance, if I can just John Jones him, and no, I don't mean hit people with cars, and just keep him at a distance,
Yeah.
There you go.
Good. That was good. That was a good one. That one made me.
Sorry, if you, I'm sort of ruining the joke now. That's I'm German. Come on,
He's drunk. He's drunk.
We could have had 5 more seconds of enjoyment, but I'm going to cut this off because this is in my genes. What can I do? Well, if you think about the kid Roadhog has, he is a positioning manipulator towards the opponent, right? Like he pulls people in and moves their positioning. He pulls people away with his ultimate, which is positioning now. And he also like just shreds shields, which forces certain positioning on certain situations. Now, if that is ever required in Overwatch, that's when Roadhog becomes good, right? But so far, I don't think we had it in a situation where it was very much required for that role to be filled. A little bit of that was always enough. Like for instance, the Lucio boobs to get them off the supports or whatever. If that happens, okay, that's enough, right? But Lucio also is the one, the gap closer in that sense for the entire team, and that's why he was very applicable before. And I think he's too easy to play around, and all the other levers you could pull on him, such as, for instance, a longer hook, that always, that it's very hard to break. Or it's very easy to break that hero by doing something like that, where suddenly he's like the Pharah counter by having, an infinite chain.
Just a crazy...
An infinite or a faster hook to where it's not even like projectile.
Yeah, like hook, like the original hook was ridiculous.
Yeah,
like it was
just
so
virtually instant. Yeah. Instant. It's
pulling people around corners and stuff.
I don't want to go as far as say it's almost mercy breakable in the sense like resurrection is either you can resurrect or you can't kind of thing. Like you can't but which by the way, I still would love an ability to channel res longer for a hero to come back with more health. Like I think that could be a really interesting use case where you could resurrect quickly versus like resurrect a long time, like at the end of a team fight and get a teammate back at full health. But besides that, it's once like hook gets breaks that barrier, right, from unviable to viable, it immediately has like this immediate upswing that's really difficult to balance at that point.
And you look at some of the other heroes we've got out now, it's like you could hook into Discord. It's like, okay, well, you're just going to die. Yeah. You could hook into Brigitte. It's like, well, okay, you're just not going to play the game. It's bad enough that you can hook into Sleep Dart. You can hook into like Flashbang. Like, talk about hard CC being, you know, remotely oppressive. There's a lot of different combos you can really lock people down with him. Like, I could even see him, you know, if in a world where there's some sort of like shielding support, right? So like think of a better old Symmetra where you could shield. So to kind of preemptively, not preemptively, but I guess Brigitte kind of actually does this. I think you could actually play him in a support position because he is kind of self-sufficient in that sense. Play him in the back and just go for just absolute disruption from the back line, and then shield, just pummel. You just pummel the shield with right clicks. If they try to jump on you, you hook them away. Oh, Doomfist, we hook him too. Like, there's just so much hard CC potential there. You just kill anybody that wants to harass your backline. And then, oh, you want to jump in from the front? Okay, well, I'll hook you too. Diva wants to come in, doesn't have defense matrix, hook her. Like, you lose healing there, but you know, there's some really interesting, and we saw that, you know, towards the end of the Overwatch League with like the solo mercy stuff with Erase a Hog and whatnot. But yeah, a lot of interesting things to happen. It
is really interesting too that you bring up, because Brig it's not, I don't believe live right now, but I believe it was Jeff who said that they're basically changing her shield bash to where it doesn't go through shields anymore, which is going to be a big change. And, you know, that is going to be really interesting to see. We're not going to discuss that today. We'll discuss it once it actually gets onto a live server and starts, you know, this is mainly a competitive Overwatch podcast. So we're going to, you know, kind of try to keep it away from the speculation too much. Yeah, this is far off. We're going to be here next week. We're going to be back in 5 days. I'm going to be in a new place, by the way, in 5 days. You'll notice right now I'm in Cupertino, California, in some like temporary furnished apartment, which is kind of nice. It's not bad.
Yeah, it's not on fire, hopefully.
It's not bad. It's not on fire. Google Fiber is pretty great, by the way. Yeah. So, you know, like that's going to be great. Next week we'll be in our like temporary housing, and then in like 45 days we'll actually be at our real place. So, anyways, yeah, it's going to be really interesting. Let's talk more about competitive Overwatch though. And let's go to the Contenders scene first, because we've got a few really interesting rosters that have been announced. Team Gigantti announced their latest roster for Overwatch Contenders, and not bad, not looking bad at all. You got Zappies, Milky Man, Davin, Visility, Zuppa, Zilbo, SC, and Zomba. Obviously the big ones here, Zappies and Zupa coming from the Florida Mayhem, and then Visility. I mean, Visility has been everywhere, right? Was that Rogue? I didn't even look this up ahead of time. Visility, was he? No, he was
Team Netherlands, Toronto Esports, Six
Toronto
Snakes.
Esports is what it was.
Orglis, yeah.
So
good guy though. Really good.
Like there's a few there. This is a pretty impressive. I would say this is probably one of the more impressive squads that we've seen for EU contenders. I mean, Yiska, what do you think here on this one? You're the EU expert. This is your backyard. What's the thought on this roster here?
I'm not sure if that's true, but well, I will say, okay, of course, this team has not only Overwatch League experience and therefore some veterans, but they've also opened the door to, you know, more nationalities now, even though they did have more than just Finnish people before. And the one question mark for me with this is can this team compensate Saita not being with Gigantti anymore, with the organization? And I actually don't know too much about the coach they put in. So while this is a very stacked roster, of course, once again, we have to assign a high value towards the coaching staff. And maybe that's just my ignorance, but I would go out on a limb and say that Saita is probably, I consider him one of the best Western coaches in that regard. So we would have to see how this turns out. But this certainly instantly, just based on the name value, is the favorite or one of the favorites for Contenders Season 3 in Europe.
Fair enough. I mean, what do you think, Joe? So EU is probably my weakest region.
Easily same here.
Okay,
but there's a lot
the
of
only one.
No. Yeah, sorry to the EU guys watching. I know that there's quite a good amount of people that try to consume content in the EU, but yeah, it's probably my weakest region out of all of them. That or NA, strangely enough. But there are a lot of names here that I do know. I was quite impressed with Davin and Facility. Lobo's been around the block. He played StarCraft professionally, quite good at it. A couple time champ. So I came from Eagles. He can't be bad.
Yeah.
He can't be bad. I like that.
Can't be bad with that kind of track record. You come from one of the best, tank teams in the world, and then you have a successful track record in another game. That's a skill set I think that can translate to multiple different titles and multiple different roles even. So it's a good team. I have to kind of side with Yiska. Granted, my opinion probably is a little bit lacking because I'm not super familiar with the European scene. But this is if I was to kind of glance, this is a contender for sure. No pun intended. But this is a title. This is a title. Somebody could get.
Yeah. Honestly, I'm sort of puzzled that Davin still hasn't made it into the Overwatch League. And
I don't know, man.
Okay, so let's really quickly on Davin. I felt like there were 3 players that had very similar profiles going into the Overwatch League. And that was Snillo, that was Davin, and that was Mistakes. For Davin to be the guy that was left out was very surprising to me. And of course, I don't have the insight on any of these, sort of moves that were going on or that what kind of intangibles he has or whatever. But it is quite interesting that he still is outside the Overwatch League. And yeah, I wonder, I haven't really kept up with him as much as I want to in order to make that statement if he kept up the same level. But yeah, it's very, very interesting to see that he's still trying to get there. And he also has been trying to get there for a while. And there are a couple of people like that who just keep on trying. And that's a very, that's actually, a commendable effort in that regard.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this is kind of funny because right now, as we were talking about it, we're getting a ton of different news about what's going on in the contender scene. So we just now, within the last, I don't know how long ago that was, but
a couple minutes.
Yeah, literally probably within the hour. Mayhem Academy announces their contender squad. And we've got Shax Apply Paintbrush. Is it? And this
EPZZ?
is EPZZ. And Fact Fiction and Maditon. Obviously, the big ones here. Fact Fiction and Maditon coming from Overwatch League. Apply. I mean, jeez, that resume on that guy has to be insane. Shax, probably similar. Pretty insane roster here overall. Going over to the NA side for NA contenders. Joe, I mean, I look at this roster and I have to say at least it's got to be a contender.
Yeah, they're in Contenders. Yeah, no, it looks like a good team. I don't see a ton of weakness there. I think that frontline looks good. Backline, I'm not super familiar with Apply and Paintbrush, but I've heard good things. And then Shax and EPZZ. EPZZ's been around for a long time. And Shax is definitely jumped out during the World Cup. If you didn't know him, now you do. It's kind of a shame that we didn't see him get a little bit more attention from Overwatch League teams. But yeah, looks like a solid roster. Looks like a solid core. It's going to come down to kind of the pool of other teams that they're going to be competing against. Who's making changes there. Are you going to see Fusion University make some changes? Is there other moves to be made? If there is, what are they, and how many teams are going to be making those moves? So they're coming out strong with a very solid roster. This isn't a last place team by any means.
No, what is very interesting about this team is, though, of course, the 3-man rule that only 3 people can be from outside the region, the respective region where it's played, and they decided to go with no Korean players, despite their first team being there. I assume none of them are
Korean biased, Yiska. I'm just okay. Sorry, I had to get that out there for the YouTube.
Okay, so my point.
The YouTube comments are going to be Korean bias, so I'm going to call you out and make you address that as you continue to address the rest of this.
Yeah. So the thing is,
yeah,
there doesn't seem to be any two-way players. I don't know how that would work, how you would have a two-way player, have to play more, like Overwatch League.
I genuinely think Apply is a two-way player.
Is he?
Pretty sure, yeah.
But how would he ever play in the Overwatch League?
Don't ask me.
I mean, it's possible that he would only come if you promised him to be a two-way player. But It's very hard to imagine that's, a foreigner would get into a purely Korean team. Then again, Tivik is strictly seen still on there, so there's a possibility that they will go with 2 Westerners at least, and then whatever other Westerner there could be a two-way. But yeah, that seems to be a move that isn't necessarily there to buffer the strength of the first team, but rather to develop talent, possibly sell it off, and yeah, that's interesting that they went this way.
So in September of this year, Florida Mayhem signs Apply as first two-way Overwatch League player.
Oh yeah.
I'm pulling that from Double Tap right now. So yeah, so he is a two-way player. I know we're all really we've talked about two-way players a lot and how we think that they're going to be utilized in Overwatch League. Because it is really interesting, right? There's definitely there's a wide variety of use cases for it that we think, but he's definitely a two-way player, at least as of September 25th of 2018. I don't believe any of that has changed.
No, I don't think it can.
So Apply is definitely a two-way player. Nomi is not. But Nomi obviously coming as a main tank player for the San Francisco Shock. Yeah. Cool. Hey, Baroy, follow me on Twitter. All right, let's go ahead and go. Jeez.
Call out
the live shade.
Shouldn't have to say it. All right. Anyways, lots of announcements on the Contenders side. By the way, Lemon Kiwi does on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/KickedTripod. Does an amazing Contender show, Overwatch Contenders Daily. Lots of really great one-on-one interviews with people like this, so you should definitely check it out. We're not going to get through all these teams, by the way, Joe. I know this was something that you recommended. We wanted to go through the Pacific.
We can start with them, though.
We're just going to start. We're just going to go until it feels like it's been going on for too long. Baroy says I will. There it is. He followed me. All right. God, I was like, why is he not following me? That bothers me. It bothered me, Baroy. I'm sorry. All right.
Cuts deep.
Overwatch League expansion teams. We did the Atlantic region. Over probably episodes 2 through 5. 2 through 4. We spent a good amount of time talking about the expansion teams and the Atlantic teams. Now we're going on to the Pacific teams. And we're going to start. We're going to stop. We're going to go alphabetical here. The Chengdu Hunters is what we're going to talk about first. It's a panda hunting.
Calling you off YouTube.
Even though most of their diet is not animals.
No,
They're still hunters.
something.
Pandas.
They're they're hunting bamboo.
At least they're not a rooster with the name Eternal.
I don't know, man.
You think that's bad?
I think both have important cultural significance. Obviously, one is a little bit cooler than the other, but I don't know exactly who we're hunting here.
We are hunting bamboo.
That's really difficult to,
It's like hunting
roll
trees.
over and reach and just snap a twig and
How much
munch.
bamboo? Do you think like bamboo's just everywhere?
Well, there's not a lot of them, so if you don't feed them, they're probably gonna die
So it
because
can't- there
they're
can't
too
be that
lazy
much
to
bamboo, right?
procreate. Yeah, there's a ton of it. All
Right.
they do is just sit and eat.
Dimlet, I don't know, or Dimmet, I know, but it's just like, why make the connection at all? And why? so I know. Dimmet says the
doing too
rooster
much.
has an infinity symbol embedded into its body, and I don't, for a second, contest that. It's just really dumb. And then you have this big swirly logo, and then you have like Eternal in like really bold letters. It's just really bad branding.
By the way, there's a difference between infinity and eternity. Okay. That's just
Hello, I have a phone call for Yiska.
Oh, well, hold on. Sorry, somebody's calling. Hello, this is
Hi,
Yiska.
Volamel.
Yeah, hi, how's it going?
I'm calling in. I have a conversation. I have something I want
Right.
to say to Yiska right now.
Sure. I'll put him on. Go right ahead.
Hi,
all right.
this is Yiska.
Yes.
Is your name really Sasha?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, anyways, just
Where was that big
Yeah.
going?
it was
man.
going somewhere, and I just like, I've seen Yiska cry twice in my life.
Dude, it's actually an absolute shame because, man, I should have been called Sven. But then someone in my house where I lived...
Sven or Smen?
Sven with a V.
Sven. Got it.
Yeah. Thought it was a good idea to call their daughter Svenja. And my mom was like, chicken shit, and didn't do it. And then at the age of 6, at the age of 8, they moved away. We never talked to them again. And that's why I have a awful ass name. Thanks, Mom.
Sasha's a great name. Are you kidding me? I've never
it's not.
met a ugly person named Sasha.
Don't say it.
Male or
Well,
female.
Don't come to
No,
Germany then.
No.
Don't come to Germany
I'm
then.
just saying. So, you're a good looking guy, Sasha.
Sven Heinisch just doesn't kind of roll off the tongue like Sasha Heinisch.
So with the name of Sasha, does she have to propose to you then? I'm just kidding. Okay. All right, we're done. Joe, come back. Come back, Joe. Man.
I need to go get my maple syrup. Sorry.
Oh, so yeah. You're what? Okay. Anyways, Chengdu hunters, at least, they failed the literal test, right? In branding.
Yeah.
But besides that, let's talk about this squad in the tank position. This is again all rumored, and who knows what bench
Only
has
speculation.
what bench has announced today for us to speculate on. But assuming that nothing new has been coming out, Late Young, Beast Halo, Vanessa, and Elsa at the tank positions. Bacon Jack, Silk Thread, Jinmu. Help me
Yang
out.
Xiaolong.
Okay. Fair enough. And then on the supports, Yveltal, Kyo, Gara, Gary. Sorry, not Gara. Very different. Gary.
Dude, you made it through all those weird sounding names. You got Gary wrong.
Shut up. I can hang up on you right now. I can mute you. I can just mute you from the podcast. Never get another word in ever again. And staff,
You have to now speak with
Rui,
facial
Ray
expression.
Gods, and Four Leaf. All right. This squad here, we need to start talking about them. And Yiska, because you're so cheeky and cute, young
Yeah,
Sasha.
you little cheeky panda. Tell me about Yang.
Go ahead and tell me a little bit. Here's the thing: a lot of these players from China, and the Chinese, like near around China, couple U.S. Peeps there, with like Silk Thread, who I think it's like kind of both, right?
Yeah, he can. I'm fairly positive that he's some portion of Chinese and can speak Mandarin, so just kind of makes a little bit of sense.
Halo from USA, obviously.
Yeah, to my knowledge,
anyways,
he's not.
Joe is like a resident China region.
Yeah, but we're gonna go with Yiska first.
I know exactly. Please,
he wants to be a cheeky little panda
interrupt
boy,
me again, and you're gone.
Tell me about Gary, Yiska.
Yeah,
how do you feel about
Tell
Gary?
us about these obscure Chinese picks in Moss 7 Club.
Joe, hold me back. I'm
holding back.
Wait,
is it this way?
This way. Team in the Overwatch League.
Wait, what did you say?
No, worst team.
Worst?
Like, I don't know much about China, but that's why you need to hold me back. Tell me about these players. Convince me that they are not the worst.
I don't know much.
Late Young looked like a liability.
Sure. Okay, but again, he is not
a liability.
Exactly. He's not a diva player. He literally only played Zarya. They had another person literally for him to play diva. He's a Zarya player. His Zarya is actually quite good.
Okay.
Vanessa can play literally everything. So if they actually do want to play up to, Chinese standards and they want to run triple DPS and run this kind of like very distinct style, they can. He's played Junkrat, he's played Sombra, he's played every flex tank, and he can play a pretty decent Winston, and he can play him. He was a pick early on in Contender Season 2 that I was like, this kid is really good, super flexible, probably should be in the Overwatch League. If it comes true that he is, you heard it here first. I also never heard the name in my life. Bacon Jack, I think he played in one of the Overwatch World Cups. People like him because of his name.
Bacon Jack. I mean,
other than that,
Flash Wolves. I mean, that's not anyone. World Cup 2017 for Taiwan.
I thought they were going to do good, and then they didn't. So there's Bacon Jack for you.
But I mean, Flash Wolves is not like a, I don't know, Toronto esports where nobody knows who they are and what they do.
Yeah, they don't have MDs. What can I say?
They need more MDs on that roster to manage their social media. All right. Anyways, China. I mean, Joe. What I want to talk to you about a little bit though is you do have. I mean, so Late Young is a huge one. I would say 2 years ago.
Sure.
When you would start looking at, who from the Chinese region is on the short list to go to
the first season of the Overwatch League?
Yes,
sure,
first season of Overwatch League. Like Late Young was definitely on that short list there.
Mm-hmm.
Team CC definitely underperformed last season, at least from what we thought. Team CC is the academy team for the Shanghai Dragons, at least was. I believe they still are. Still are. To my knowledge as well. So Late Young, first one coming in there. I remember talking to Jamerson, who before Volamel, Jamerson was kind of the expert on that region, at least English speaking expert on that region. And again, he's sang the praises of Late Young. We kind of saw him fall from grace a little bit, coming back in. A little bit. But you also have Vanessa, who is the other one? Jinmu, both from Moss 7 Club, who, I've interviewed you a couple times saying is your favorite Chinese region team. Everybody else knows
until
them.
These two got poached.
Right.
It's just,
well, they're not even a thing anymore, right? They're like big time.
Yeah, they're called
Regal
big time
Gaming or something.
Regal Gaming.
Bagel with an R. How do you spell that? Oh, bagel with an R. Got it.
Yeah.
Thanks, guy. I mean, China. You've got again Yang
Xiaolong.
All right.
He played. To be fair, he played alongside Late Young. Haven't seen him in a long time. I think he was coaching a team.
Youngsters, right?
I think he didn't want to join Overwatch League because it was heavily implied that he was somehow part of boosting, wasn't it?
I had no idea, but if that's the case, then
I don't think that boosting is actually a problem in the Chinese and Korea region. I think it's...
All right, boys, that's the show. Thanks for listening.
That's the worst take. And
that's the worst take that we've ever had, by the way. Vanessa, we talked about. Elsa, Lingani Sports. Horrible logo. Really fun team to watch. Really fun team to watch. Silk Thread, obviously, the man who could play every DPS hero under the sun. Quite good. Overwatch League good. I would still say still Overwatch League good.
Yeah, I mean, even when he was, in season 1, I thought he was still like, he just needed to find a team that would. I think if you give him playtime, a lot of people sung his praises when he was on Valiant for a long time. Just really hard carrying on projectile DPS. Seemed to actually have a good presence in the comms, at least from what people say. Again,
so,
I can only speak on
carrying.
That's just what that's what was said.
Dude, that's just the problem with this entire team. I don't see, with the exception of the Chinese players like Vanessa and Jinmu.
Okay, so you're judging off of Beast Halo and Silk Thread.
All of them are Chinese players except for Beast Halo and Bacon Jack, technically.
Okay, so here's my problem, right? Okay, with the exception of Vanessa and Jinwoo, who I know nothing about.
Sure.
Silk Thread.
If one of those two is not an absolute nutter, this team doesn't have a star player.
Jinwoo is quite good.
Do you need a star player?
No.
To be successful in Overwatch?
No, to go 0-28, you don't need a star player.
But I mean, you said that they're going to go last, and the Shanghai Dragons haven't gotten any better. So
yeah, well,
think about the formula, right? Shanghai Dragons got some pretty good Korean players, and therefore had a problem because they broke the language barrier, and they still didn't improve.
Who's the star on the Boston Uprising?
Now you break a Korean player. Now you break the.
No, here we go. This was Yiska's reenactment of the. Who is the star player on Boston?
Who's the star player on the LA Valiant? Or the LA Gladiators?
Whoa.
Both Korean players.
What are their names?
Here's the thing. All right, so YouTube,
Fisher.
Twitch chat, Twitter. I need to say something right now. Every week, almost, you talk about the bias towards Korean players that Yiska has, and I've defended him tooth and nail. But I get it. Teams with star players. I mean, honestly, I can even say who's the star player of NYXL. London Spitfire. There are players like the Fusion where you look at Carpe probably, right? There are definitely players who have, or teams that have found a way to play around a singular player to open up and engage the rest of that roster.
Sure.
This is not a team of stars trying to coexist. This is a team of really high tier singular players who play best when they're with a team.
Yeah, the thing is, me breaking...
Joe, no.
Play best in a team for me, and China doesn't necessarily always mix. But I'll save my opinion until after Yiska finishes. So
no, I think so. Here's the thing. I think there is good reason to break open the language barrier, and it is for quite good players. I think they opened the language barrier, and it doesn't help them whatsoever. Now, I don't know how...
To be fair, we're still talking about Shanghai, right?
No, Chengdu.
Oh, we're talking about Chengdu. Okay.
Yeah. So, I'm not sure if Beast Halo and Silk Thread possibly speak the language. I'm not sure.
I'm pretty sure Silk Thread can speak Mandarin. Beast Halo,
Beast Halo, I don't think so.
Yeah. So, I'm not sure if that's worth it, man. Like, Silk Thread, it almost feels like... Because not many people know this, but... Agilities is a huge name in China, right? Everyone is going crazy over Agilities. That's, by the way, the reason why one of the the Chinese journalists nominated Agilities as one of the MVPs in the voting, right? This feels like, we couldn't get Agilities, man. Okay, but the other guy on Valiant, we could get this guy's legitimately worse than Agilities. And Agilities already is not starting over KSF.
Here's the thing, though.
So
I don't think they're building this around Silk Thread any more than his experience. I think Silk Thread is totally a respectable DPS. I think his flexibility on the DPS role is also a huge plus. Whether you have Bacon Jack or Jinmu or Joe?
Yang Xiaolong?
I need you to be there for that. But
you just gotta. Yeah,
I'm not going to. Whether any one of them go down, Silk Thread can be there for that. Not to mention, I stress this probably almost every week. It's a totally different format. Having Overwatch League seasoned pros on your team as an expansion team, I think is really important. I do.
Yeah, sure.
Like Silk Thread.
So they then can do the pantomime in order to, explain what the experience is like this. Is standing in front of the new Chinese player,
unless you're the Florida Mayhem, and then sometimes it's like this because you're driving the bus by yourself. So
very true.
But like I like the pick of Silk Thread because I don't think that they paid very much for him. I think they probably got him for a decent amount. They probably actually paid more than they did for the other players for Silk Thread. But you've established that presence. There, you also have kind of a pseudo translator, which, if you look at the empirical evidence of Chinese teams in Overwatch League, 0-40 is not a thing. So therefore, all Chinese teams go 0-40. That's a joke. Shut up, YouTube. I don't think that this is a contending team. I don't.
They're not gonna win anything.
This is a middle of the pack team.
Yep.
This is a team that's respectable. This is a team that you can enjoy. Yep. This is a team that you can enjoy watching if you're from Chengdu.
Tell me anybody in the bottom 5 in your list that Chengdu does.
Everyone.
One. Just name one. Just give us one.
What? In the bottom 5? So you're telling me there is a team that will lose to Chengdu?
Yes.
Do you think
None.
Who's your worst team besides the Chengdu Hunters? Who's the second worst team, or the third, or the fourth, or the fifth, or the sixth? I need your answer today, by the way.
So Joel wants me to say Boston. He wants me to say Boston.
Oh yeah, just throw me under the bus. Yeah. Oh yeah, we hate Boston here, boys. Here we go.
But I don't think Boston is worse. If they actually keep the Koreans around, I don't think they're worse.
So, Boston.
I'll give you this.
You think that this team loses to Boston?
Yeah,
that's what he's saying. Yeah.
Yeah.
To be fair, you said, and I want this on the record. You said they're the worst team in the league.
Out of 20, not just the new expansions teams, but all 20 teams.
Yes, all 20 teams. You think Chengdu is the worst team?
The only redeeming factor in all of this...
Tweet it at me. This is the type of thing that we hold people to.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, sure. Like, the only redeeming quality on this team, to me, is...
all the really great Chinese talent.
No, that they got the... What? That's not even true.
Yeah, no, it's not true, to be fair. Like, they got good talent, but, like...
they don't have leave. They don't have Gush.
Yeah, it's not like all-star level, but like if you're gonna build a full Chinese team, like this is kind of how it would look.
Yeah, can't even win their own region.
Either could the Dragons, but
so to finish my point, really quickly, miraculous youngster former coach. That's the saving grace for them. Mm-hmm. If they have innovative strategies and can crack it open and throw a lot of curveballs and whatever.
Now you're starting to see it.
Yeah.
When you have someone like Vanessa that can play anything and everything, when you have people like Silk Thread, Jinmu, Yang Xiaolong, again, we haven't seen him in a long time, but fairly I'm saying the only way that they're the worst team is if they try to conform to everybody else. If they play things they're good at and they remain comfortable, they will not be the worst team.
But you just highlighted the flexibility of the players, then talked about play what they're good at. They're good at flexibility, so shouldn't they be able to play anything?
They should be able to play everything, but that's not necessarily what they're strongest. You need to kind of almost...
What you're saying is this is not a reactionary squad, and where they're going to be countering...
You have to just kind of go with, what you think the meta should be played as, and just all... So if you think that Symmetra Torb is the new, the new dank meme...
Interesting example.
Go for it. They're not going to be the worst team. The second they conform to whatever everybody else is playing, they're going to lose. 100%.
Okay, watch this, chat. Watch his face now. I'm going to try to make this pick fly. This is against all that Volamel is, and he will add 10 million caveats, but give me 2 names that are worse than Chengdu Hunters.
Houston, Florida.
Houston, holy. All right. Okay, you see, like, what I basically
Paris,
did
by
is...
the way. I'm saying it.
I don't think Paris is that bad, to be fair.
Yes, you do. You said it before. You said you thought there was
I said with the caveat that we were not out of all of the teams.
The school bully showed up and was like, "I'm gonna beat up something," and just threw Joe into the arms of the school bully and ran away because that's the worst thing.
You want to take a Lord bet on this?
Sure.
What's the stipulation?
Okay, so by the end of the season, someone hold us accountable, by the way.
Yeah,
by the end of the season, Chengdu Hunters will finish below both teams you just mentioned.
Below both?
Or one. I don't care. See, that's even a better odd for you.
Than just one? I'll take it. Why not? I'm not,
all right.
I won't back down. I'll take it.
All right.
I'll take it.
You can start calling me Lord by week 3. I'm pretty convinced.
We'll just have to see.
Yeah.
We will just have to see. Won't we?
All right.
China's going to lose to Finland. Just wait.
Well, I said...
China's going to lose to Finland, guys. Here I am.
Hey, I predicted China to win. None of the players that made China win is actually on this team, so whatever. That's
fair point.
Like, yeah.
No, are you guys done? Can we keep going and doing a show here, or you just want to
no?
Keep going here.
Just had to make someone a peasant. So what's happening?
Fair enough. I mean, Yiska, you're going to be wrong. Like, this is not this is not a last place team. Not saying it's a great team.
Well, that's not the Lord bet. That's not the Lord bet.
Yeah, that's not the Lord. To be fair, that's not the bet.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, like, I get it. No Korean teams, Yiska, 18, 19, 20. Yeah, I get it.
See, something like this, what will happen is they just release the entire roster mid-season and they finish out strong, get into and and I lose the belt.
Here comes Dia, boys.
But then I will proudly walk in my peasant clothes and do the, what's his name? Braveheart? Yeah, I will die on that hill. That's fine.
Go for it.
It's definitely not the reference. All right. Guangzhou charge. Another horribly confused branding strategy. The Guangzhou charge. Tanks, Rio, Flex, Hotba. All right. DPS.
That one's confirmed, to be fair.
Happy, Eileen, Crystal. Joe, put your pants back on, okay? Supports Chara, Shu, and Wanje Li. And then staff, a bunch of people.
Jintai Dollar, Sungwoo, Rainforest, and general manager Ethan. Probably gonna butcher it, so I'm just gonna.
Leo.
It's a 50-50.
Yeah.
And I'm choosing. I just pick option C. Just walk away.
All right, fair enough. So Hotba is indeed confirmed. So we definitely know sitting in that flex tank role is going to be that Hotba boy. Yiska, you've been doing great so far. Why is this team also the worst team in Overwatch League?
No,
well, they have Koreans on it. They're going to be good.
Dude, they have Happy. They have one Lee. What do you want?
Dog, I'm just waiting for Happy to get like the clap.
Even
just like 30 games, clap, clap.
Even Eileen is pretty like.
Yeah, Eileen's good. Crystal's good.
Yeah, Chara's not bad.
To be fair, Crystal's on like 3 different teams. So which one is it?
True.
Everybody's probably going for Crystal. Yeah.
Oh, 100%. Any Chinese team is probably like in a bidding war for Crystal, I would imagine. And to be fair, who knows what's going on with there's a dispute over his age apparently. I don't know. I just want to see him play.
Show us the birth certificate.
Oh,
we're really good at asking for that in the United States. It's all about that birth certificate.
Did you forget the name of your country for a second there?
No. I was just thinking about how many world wars we won.
Yeah.
All righty then.
Taking that L.
I missed you guys so much. Well, I didn't realize how dark my life was until I've come back here. Anyways, Yiska.
Yes.
Are you high on this team, Yiska?
I don't think they're bad. I mean, they don't make much sense yet because they don't have tanks.
Yeah, true.
But or not many.
I mean, they technically, if we're gonna assume that this is all true, which it probably isn't. I mean, they have enough to field a roster. 2 tanks, DPS supports.
I think that the support line is great. The DPS also are just young, like pretty awesome dudes. Happy would instantly probably be one of the best Widowmakers in the league.
Oh yeah.
Eileen, I was always high on Eileen. If you go back to the Beijing Imperials last year, I already thought he was pretty good, even though he wasn't eligible at the time.
He's in that late young class for me. Like, honestly, I would have bet 2 years ago that Eileen and Late Young, those were the 2 major Chinese players that I could think of that would be immediate shoe-ins.
And then, of course, Less actually on. I'm not too high on Hotbar, but then again, there's probably most of the time there's a reason why, for instance, a team like Fusion took a chance on him. And I wonder if we will now be able to see that on a new team. But yeah,
I think we see a consistent theme too, where expansion teams are trying to bring on at least one Overwatch League seasoned player with respectable performances, can fill that gap. Just let them kind of be there to help out, because I do think, I mean, how much of performance in season 1 had to do with the mentality of Overwatch League and how much of it had to do with actual skill. Definitely was skill there, but there was definitely a lot of mental.
Oh, I think it's always going to be a mental war.
So,
but yeah, it's so important.
I like bringing on somebody there who, you know, isn't going to necessarily threaten the spots. I don't think that Hotbud probably starts for long. I think that they bring in somebody to play that position. I think they kind of do the Silk Thread thing, where he's probably good enough to play that position if they want to play it, or start him off with that. But once they figure out who's sitting where, they pull him out. Yeah.
This seems better than the Pandas, right?
I don't know. I really don't know.
Okay. We're taking all crazy pills here today.
I want to see this team on paper. I want to see exactly who they've signed. If this is it, if I'm going to take this at face value, I think they definitely have potential to be better than Chengdu. I just need to see it in action. When you've got Eileen Crystal, or Eileen Happy, or Crystal Happy, how do they work with the tanks? Where's the language barrier kind of limit? because it does. I think that's just kind of inarguable that at some point you're either going to push past it and really have the mentality of these players to want to learn the language that you want to call with, or it's just kind of gonna be, try a little bit here, try a little bit there. You're gonna be limited. Does this team have some absolute all-stars on it? Yeah, of course. I want to see what this team looks like on paper. Granted, to be fair, you could say the same thing about Chengdu. I just think Chengdu has a lot more going for it rather than. I think they're probably going to be a little bit more consistent. They could be consistently bad. That's still a possibility. I'm not, saying that they're going to be the best team. But Guangzhou never was really.
I'm the same. Like Joe, you and I mean, we spend a lot of time watching Contenders. Like, I'll be totally honest. Contenders probably heavily influences my ranking of these players with what we saw in Chinese Contenders Season 2. And it's the same way. I think that there's quite a few more question marks that makes their ceiling higher. Yeah. Especially, if you see Crystal play the way that you kind of expected Crystal to play in like Chinese Contenders. I mean, holy shit, we might actually have a really good roster here, but at the same time, there are definitely low points on that roster that I don't know, especially once you get into Overwatch League. So,
cool.
The front line. I think easily their weakest.
Yeah, well, I assume we're missing names here. Whoever's going into the Overwatch League with just one flex tank, I'm not sure, mate. There's so much that a flex tank now needs to do. I'm not taking my chances on one player.
Just get 4K bombs.
Just get 4K bombs, your forehead.
4K bombs.
It's also about Zarya at the moment, of course. And
okay, so this is something that I do have to credit Dream with. How often do we see flex tanks technically play Zarya? It's usually DPS, right?
Sure. I mean, it depends on the combination, yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Zarya specialists have not paid off in Overwatch League so far.
Nope.
At all.
They might now, though.
They could in the future. It's a long-term investment, but I don't think Season 1.
So could May specialists. Come on, Yiska.
Honestly. You'd say that. I'd sign Yiska.
I mean, I'm just saying, that's not something like Zarya is very much, because of the way that she is played, is very much a ultimate based player. And as long as it's not oh my god, who was it? Why am I blanking on their name?
Describe it.
4 minutes Genji ult. AKM. As long as it's not like that where you're literally taking 4 times as long to get your ultimate on Zarya. And you roughly know how to cast those bubbles,
who has a pretty mean May?
Yiska.
Crystal. Pretty sure. Jack can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think he played it in.
I think he did
Anubis
quite a bit.
B.
Anubis B. Yep. I was actually going to say that because I remember that specifically. Definitely was Crystal.
Quite good. Not bad.
Not that bad.
Any team that's gonna get Crystal is definitely higher in my eyes. If they can sign Crystal to this roster, I think that the DPS lineup is can they work together in a team unit? I don't know, but on paper they look real strong. And I guess on that you could put them above Chengdu. I don't think that that's that outlandish. I just am a little bit more gun shy on them over Chengdu. So yeah, that's just my take.
I don't like disagreeing with Yiska.
Oh, I do.
I know you do. That's why you're here, and that's why Yiska's here, because you guys agree on nothing. Makes for a great show. Makes for a great show. All right, I think this is a good place to stop it. You got 2 out of the 4 teams down.
Save the other 2.
Yiska's getting tired. There might be a murderer on his roof.
I made myself a lot today.
What's the update for what the random wall situation? Is there still people in your walls?
No, I haven't heard anything, but that might just be because it's no longer in the walls, but in my apartment. Very possible.
There you go.
Under your covers with a knife.
Yeah.
What's the German word for knife?
Mesa.
Mesa with a mesa.
That's less cool than I was hoping for.
Mesa. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
not like here's the
Stufa
thing.
Toletta.
Murder R is one of the most menacing sounds that you can make in the English language. That's why they call
R?
it murder, and not muckduck.
It's true.
So, all right, we're gonna get out of here. Let's get out of here. Thank you guys for tuning in. Really appreciate it. Hope you had a fun time. You can tune in on Monday. Sorry, this was kind of last minute. We did decide this morning that we're gonna do it, but we'll be back Monday with a very planned show. 11 a.m. Pacific time. Twitch.tv/KickedTripod. Find it on Twitter. Find it on YouTube. Find it on RSS feed. Just look for Tactical Crouch or Overwatch League daily. Really appreciate it. Have a awesome time. Joe, anything going on?
Not my friend.
Yiska, anything?
Just, thinking it over. Planning some cool stuff for the future.
Subscribe.
Got some really like playful content coming up.
I love playful content. It's one of my favorite things. Playful content. Make sure to follow Yiska on Twitter at YiskaOut. Search for Yiska on YouTube. Follow Joe at Volamel. Sounds pretty good. All right. We're going to get out of here. Have an awesome night or week or whatever it is. This will be up on your podcast feeds soon. I need to restart that sound, I guess. I don't know. It was just done. It was just done. It was done too early.
Like, I'll quit. I need a break.
I didn't time that one very good.
OSHA's here.
I didn't time that one good at all. All
We
right.
could sing it, Joe. We could sing it, Joe.
No, ain't happening.
All right. We're out of here.